tonight, and our speaker is Nan W.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, I'm Nan. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Nan.
So I'm just going to get the formalities out of the way real quick. First of all, thank you for asking me to speak. That was kind of a divine intervention, how that came down. And I'm super grateful that I can be here today and that I'm sober and that I'm of service to all of you and to God. I'd like to also tell you my sobriety date is September. I feel like I'm not qualified, all these people with 21 years and so yeah, like I have 6 years. My sobriety date is September 1st, 2014. My home group is the Saturday night speaker meeting in Prescott called Carry That Message. And I think that's pretty much the formalities. I was going to say, I wanted to add a little disclaimer in there because normally I'm a really, let's see, how can I put it? The best way to describe it is I'm very anal and I want everything to be, it's a character defect. I know I'm working on it. I want everything to be planned and orchestrated, so I will work like months before I have to speak on, what I'm going to talk about. And so this is really out of my comfort zone because literally 2 hours ago, Tiffany asked me to speak. So this is all God. And so my disclaimer is if you don't like what I have to say, blame it on God. But with that being said, I'll just kind of I'm going to talk real briefly. I just picked out a few things in the book to talk about just because I didn't have that whole month, ahead of time. So I picked out a couple of topics in the book that I really want to talk about. But what I'm told in my program is that I'm supposed to get up here in the podium and tell what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So I'm going to just give you a little overview of what my life was like as I was growing up. Real quickly, I think I could do it in 7 minutes. Basically, I was raised in a military family. I just want to do it real briefly, so I'm just going to cut to the chase, not to be so abrasive, but I was beaten, I was abused, I was emotionally and physically abused, and that's kind of how I was raised. So very early on in my childhood, I learned how to, to shut up, to clamp down. My biggest lesson, how like you try to teach your children good lessons that will carry them through life and help them to have, these things so that they're functional. So I never taught any of that. And so I learned the dysfunctional way of going through life. And one of those MOs that is a big part of my story is that I learned how to run. And I ran early on. I remember I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I packed up a backpack and I lived in Germany at the time. I don't know where I was going. I ended up in the witch's garden of all places and it was the Black Forest. And I went deep in there and I thought, I'm going to get away from my mom and dad. I felt like a burden to my family. That's an awful thing for a child to feel, like you're a burden to your mother and father. But that's pretty much my childhood summed up. I did not learn, it was like I didn't come with an owner's manual to life. Another way to explain it, I just didn't have the skills or the know-how. And so I entered into my early adulthood. I started drinking and using when I was about 15 years old. I continued for 40 years. That's a whole long time. A lot of people out there have like 40 years of sobriety. I drank and used for 40 years. That's a long time to come back from a disease like alcoholism. So I continued to do my MO. I was a runner from the get-go. Alcohol became my means of escape. I anesthetized if I started to have a problem. If things were going good, it was just a party in the beginning. I basically anesthetized to stop my feelings, to get out of situations, to not have to deal with things. That was my means or my way of coping or escaping. I had a lot of depression. I had no self-worth. I had no self-confidence. I was not equipped with any kind of tools to deal with life. And I went on like that through high school into my college years. I got married. I met a man in my sophomore year of high school. I'm still married to him today by the grace of God and because of this program. I married him and had 2 children. I'm just kind of trying to do this in 7 minutes. I married him and it just got worse. The drinking got more. The extra outside issues got worse. I continued to escape, every chance that I got. I was not present for my girls. I was not present for my husband. All I wanted to do was drink. The depression got worse. There'd be weeks that I wouldn't get out of bed. My husband would literally have to take me to the shower and shower me. I tried to commit suicide twice. I was living, the best way to describe that is I would have been better in a prison that had a sentence that you got clean and dry and then you were let out in 3 years. But I guess I never got caught. But I was in this prison, literally in a prison that I could not get out of with no key. And I felt like a prisoner, locked in this addiction of alcoholism and extra issues. It was a vicious cycle. I would wake up in the mornings. I would quit every night. I would say, drink as much as you want tonight, Nan. Tomorrow I'm not going to drink. I'm going to not drink for the rest of the week. But I kept on doing that, and every day I would quit, and every day I would drink. And it just became my MO. I'd go to counselors, psychiatrists, I'd go to self-help gurus, meditation people. I get down on my knees and pray, help me with this addiction. I could not be free of it. So for 40 years, I lived like that. And there's a part in the big book, I would have this depression and I would I couldn't get out of bed for like a week. And, my mom would come and visit me and people would come and say, you have everything to be thankful for. Why are you like this? You have a husband, you have children, you have a good job, you have, all the toys, a big house, and there's a part, I love this part in the big book. I don't have the page marked, forgive me, but it says that, we take care of the internal and the external will take care of itself. Well, I had that all wrong. I was taking care of all of the external and I was dying. My soul was dying inside. So I'm just going to jump to, I always, and everything that whenever I speak is I always speak and I share my lowest of lows. I share my rock bottom because I believe that is what brought me to my deliverance. And it was a day in Santa Ana. It was my birthday, August 30th. My daughter had bought me a knitting class, and she and I were going to go have a knitting class together in Santa Ana. Well, I can't do anything sober. So I'm on my way to meet with her so that we can go to Santa Ana and have this really nice birthday and learn how to knit, right? So, I'm just going to go to the bar and have just a drink or so to celebrate my birthday. So I had a drink, another drink, and a couple more drinks, and I stagger into her house, and she's like, "Mom, you're drunk." And I'm like, no, I just had a birthday drink. And she goes, "I'm not going to the knitting class with you." And I got pissed off at her. This is what alcohol does. I'm the alcoholic. I'm the one going, to celebrate my birthday. By the way, it's her birthday too. We have the same birthday. And she's like, "You ruined my birthday. I'm not going with you." I'm like, "Fine." I want to use the F-bomb, but I'm not supposed to cuss. So anyways, she, said a few words and I said my few words and off I went. And I proceeded to get some more to drink. And so I drank a couple more drinks. She lived in Fullerton at the time. I don't know if anybody of you are familiar with like Orange County, but I don't know. I literally don't know. There's major freeways between Santa Ana and Fullerton, and I literally do not know how I got there. I had the blackout. I have had blackouts before, but I had a blackout, and I remember kind of coming to, and I was in Santa Ana looking for the yarn place, looking for the knitting place, because I was going to go have my knitting class, and instead I found a bar, and I drank more. And I drank more, and you know how we do. Well, I don't remember, I can't really recollect the rest of that night. I know hindsight that my daughter was looking for me. My husband was out looking for me. I ended up, and just the thought and the sight of this still makes me want to cry. And, I ended up crawled up in a fetal position. This is a fetal position. And the door jammed in the back alley of a really bad area, like the hood areas of Santa Ana. And I was bleeding, my elbows, my knees, I was bloody. I didn't have all my clothes. I didn't know where I was at, and I couldn't remember. I still don't know. I still really don't know what happened. My husband ended up finally finding me, and I was pissed at him. This is how it goes. I was so angry with him. Well, how could he dare to be looking for me? And I just blew up and said, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around Rachel. Take me to my mom and dad's. They were out of the country. Take me to my mom and dad's. I'll hang there. And so he gladly dropped me off, pushed me out of the car probably, and said, his goodbyes. And I walked into my mom and dad's house, and I remember getting on my knees and saying, I want nothing to do with you, God. I've begged you. I have gotten on my knees. I've trusted you. I thought you were everything that was good. I thought you were my savior. I thought you were my healer. I thought you would help me. Why haven't you helped me? How could you let me get this bad? And I remember, there's a part in the big book that says, the gates of hell closed behind me. My soul was sucked out of me. There's no words. I've looked for descriptive words for this, but it was almost like I was going to barf, I felt nauseated, and I felt no hope. And it was an immediate sensation of just, let me die. I just, let me die. And I continued to drink for a while, and I finally found my way into AA. And so that's kind of a little bit about my history and where I came from. I am an alcoholic. I have earned myself a place at this podium. I am definitely an alcoholic. I have a progressive, chronic, fatal disease. That's why I'm up here speaking. If in the medical world, we talk about a progressive, if you have a progressive disease, a chronic disease, that means you'll never get well from it. A chronic disease is a disease that you will have for life. Examples of these is like Alzheimer's. There's no cure for it. Diabetes. So those are chronic diseases that you have to live with for all of your life. I have a chronic disease of alcoholism. A progressive in the medical field means that it is consistently going to get worse along with being chronic. So a year from now, you may be 10 times worse, or you may be dead. It progresses to fatality. And if you have a fatal disease, eventually that's what your disease is going to leave you at, is you're going to be dead. And I have a chronic progressive fatal disease. And the only way that I can stay alive, the only way that I can live is if I take my treatments, my medicines, so that I can control this disease. And that's why I stand at this podium. That's why I work my program as I've been taught to work it. And, you know, I thought at first when I hit that rock bottom, I thought, like I said to God, you know, how could you do this to me? You know, I thought I was like the scum of the earth. You know, I thought I was like those alcoholics that were dying in the gutter. You know, I thought this was the worst fate I would ever have put on me, to be an alcoholic. And you know what it ended up being is the greatest gift. I am truly, to the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you that this is the greatest thing that has happened to me. Not so much that I'm an alcoholic, but because I found AA, I found this program. It's given me the tools I need to live a functional life today. I now know how to make a decision. I know now how to stand up and face, you know, when there's a circumstance or a situation or something bad happens. I don't run anymore. You know, I don't want to die every day. I look at things, I've been given a new pair of glasses. You know, I look at things through a whole nother, from a whole nother angle. I'm grateful today, and you know, it's all because of this program. So I'm just going to hit on a couple of these things that I highlighted. So as I was going through my program, I got, you know, we all get sponsors, and if you haven't got a sponsor, that was one of the things that, you know, I had to have to stop drinking. So I don't know if that works like that for everybody, but if I didn't have a sponsor, you know, I kept saying to myself, as soon as I get a sponsor, I'll quit drinking, you know, or I can drink until I have a sponsor, you know, so a sponsor was a key thing for me. But one thing she did is when I did my 4 steps, she handed me a piece of paper and she goes, here's your character defects. You know, I see these patterns that happen, you know, in your inventory and whatnot. And most of them I could swallow. And I'd say, yeah, okay, I'll work on. She came to this one that was called selfishness. And I thought, I'm not going to argue with her. She's my sponsor, you know, but she doesn't know what she's talking about. There's no way I'm a selfish person. You know, I've given up my life for my girls. You know, I suffer and, you know, for work, and, you know, I do all this for the church and I do all this for my husband. I have no time for myself. I am not a selfish person. There's no way, you know. And then it was 2 years later, I heard a speaker speak. And he said, we are the most selfish lot in just the only one way. Our alcohol, whatever our drug of choice is all that matters to us. And that was my selfishness. I was like fully absorbed in selfish because that was really all that ever mattered to me. And I found out that I was a very selfish person and I started working on it. But I love this. I'm just going to read it to you from the big book. Selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. We step on the toes of our fellows and we retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some time in the past, we have made decisions based upon self, which later put us in a position to be hurt. That's a key sentence, but I'm going to go on. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. We have to take responsibility because, you know, we do take part in it. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot. I got it. Though he usually doesn't think so. That was me. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it will kill us. God makes this possible. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid. Many of us have had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them, even though we have liked to. Neither could we reduce our self-centeredness by wishing or trying it trying it on our own power. We had to have God's help. This is the how and the why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He is the principal, we are his agents. He is the father, and we are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which I passed into for freedom. So there's just a couple of things that I want to bring up to you. That sentence that I said, this is a key sentence. I have made decisions based upon self that would later put me in a position to be hurt. So I started adding that to my inventory, because if I was to become unselfish, I had to look at motive. And a lot of it comes down to, why am I doing what I'm doing? If it's because I'm going to get something out of it, or if it's because I'm going to expect this to happen because of this I'm doing, that's the wrong reason. That's selfish. We freely give, we've freely been given. This program is out there for us. Hopefully it will be out there for our children, and it's been freely given to me. And, so I try to speak when I'm asked. I try to be a sponsor if somebody needs one. So I give now with a whole different way. When I give, it's not about what I'm going to get or what I'm going to receive. And, it puts me in, I'm not placed in a position of hurt. What I'm placed in is because when I do it for the right motives, I'm placed in a position to be blessed. And it's a beautiful thing. I like the how we have to give up control. We so often in our society, we are told to be strong, self-sufficient, you don't need help, and that's kind of what society, that's what I don't know if I made those, if I decided, if that was an attitude I took because I didn't feel like I had help as a child. But I do see a lot of people like that, and I know I was like that. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't want your help. That was kind of how I felt. And, we're all in this together. We have, I think there's strength in surrender. I think there's strength when we say we need help. There's strength when we say, I give it to you, God. That's really the strength, is coming to that point where we can admit it. And, I love the bottom part of it. Most ideas, I always look now when I make choices or decisions, when there's something that has to be done, even when I'm just thinking about the events of my day, I love that idea that I've learned in my program is, find a simpler, softer way. Easy does it. Let go, let God. I always look for, sometimes I'll feel overwhelmed, or I've been overcommitted, or maybe I only have an hour to speak, but I just calm myself and find the simplest way to do it. Simplest way to get from point A to point B, and that works real nice in life. It doesn't have to be complicated. I have serenity and I have peace, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of working my program, and that's what it's affording me. It's affording me an archway of which I've passed through to freedom. Okay, let me find the next little spot here. Version number 3. Okay, so I had met with somebody earlier today, and we got kind of just, how you get on these little rants and raves. And, I was talking to him, I don't know what even brought it up, but it was, let me read this first to you. It's found on page 417. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I'm disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact in my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity. Until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way that it's supposed to be, exactly that moment. Nothing Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Until I accept life completely on life's terms, I can't be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. We were kind of discussing, acceptance. And I said, I heard that a lot when I first came into these rooms, and I was going to a lot of meetings, and there was one really, enlightening lady that said this like really simple thing to me one time. And it was like, no judgments, no expectations. Try to go through today with no judgment and no expectation. And I thought about that when she said that, and I thought, that's pretty cool. And I wrote it down in my journal. And I got home and I I journal every morning. And I thought, oh, that was a really philosophical thing she said, wow, no judgment, no expectation. So I kind of went through my day and I thought, wow, I just judged that person, and I thought, wow, I'm really disappointed right now. It was because I had this expectation that this should go this way. And I said, there might be something to this. So like for one whole entire year, I have a little spot in my journal and I make these entries every day. And it's my intention or meditation for the day. For one entire year, every day, I focused on trying not to make a judgment. It's impossible to do, by the way. I mean, I never succeeded, but I made this goal. And I would kind of bring myself back to that mantra, during the day. And I have to tell you, the peace, it was beautiful, and I didn't get disappointed. I was like really happy. And that's kind of what this whole thing is saying to me about the acceptance is the answer to my problems, And it's about, what can I do? What can I change? It's not that I expect that person to change because it's not working out for me, or it's not that, okay, this job needs to not do it that way. It's not that, it's about accepting that that's the way that it is. Don't judge it, don't have an expectation about it, and try that. I challenge you, because you might find a little bit of serenity, going through trying a day. I mean, like I said, I don't know, let me know, find me if you can go through a day with no judgment or expectations, because it's pretty hard. Okay, how am I on time? I'm okay. You said till 5 till, right? So I have 1, 2 more. Okay, so we might only get through one more. So basically today, okay, so today, what it's like for me is, it's great. I was telling you earlier that I didn't have this like instruction manual for life. I do today. This big book right here is my instruction manual for life. I have a sponsor I call every week. I work my steps. I do a 4th step when I'm agitated or irritated. I have sponsees. I have 3 sponsees. I make meetings regularly. It feels so good to be in a room of living, breathing souls. So thank you all for showing up tonight. I have this beautiful blueprint for life that has been given me through this program. And anybody that's new, anybody that is not sure if they're an alcoholic, this is the way to go. This program works. Keep coming back. I think I'm pretty cured. I've always been alcoholic, but I think I'm pretty cured. I can say I'm not a depressed person anymore. I look forward to my days. I look at things through, I'm most of the time I'm pretty grateful, and I have a lot of gratitude. I'm useful. I never used to even have a purpose in life. I was just kind of going through life with, just drinking. And it's a beautiful, it exceeds my dreams, that I could be a useful person to society and to others and to God. it's a privilege for me to be sober so that I can serve. One of the other beautiful things that I never, I think at the end of, my drinking career, I think I had gotten so numb and so full of resentment and anger and depression that I couldn't feel love anymore. I couldn't feel any feelings, but it felt pretty horrible that the gates of hell closed behind me. I could not feel love. And today I feel loved and I love others. It's a beautiful thing. I can say that I'm no longer a victim. I take responsibility for the things that are my part. I have better insight as to what my part is. I'm making good choices. All my children are all back in my life. My husband, who we were this close to divorce, we are still married. This program has given me a new life, and I'm so grateful. I might end a little bit early, actually. So I'm going to read one more thing and then conclude. It says, it's found on page 267. It says, above all, I have gained the greatest thing accorded to any man, the love and the understanding of a gracious God who has lifted me up from the alcoholic scrap heap to a position of trust where I've been able to reap the rich rewards that come from showing a little love for others and from serving them as I can. Thanks for letting me speak tonight.